So what is going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of EAA. Well, it's finally happened. The tides have shifted, the Earth's rotation has changed, the sun is now coming up in the west and setting in the east. Dogs and cats are now living harmoniously together, and yeah, the E-Type Jag is back in the shop. So for those of you who are not up to speed on this car, and I know a lot of you are because I've been ranting about it for quite a few months and quite a few videos, but for those that aren't up to speed on the car, let me just kind of take you back and give you the backstory on this car. Back in November of 2018, I saw this car on an auction website, actually bring a trailer. So the car came up for auction, I watched it, got close to the end of the auction. I ended up bidding a safe number on a safe number that I felt very comfortable with because I'd always wanted an E-Type Jag. I thought they were beautiful cars, and so I waited. Now, I knew that there were some issues with the car per the seller. The seller did tell me that the transmission was slipping, so I was thinking, okay, worst case scenario, it's going to need a new transmission. And he told me the air conditioning didn't work, but other than that, everything seemed to work very well. So I bid and I waited, and lo and behold, I ended up winning the car. I had it shipped out here, and in driving it, I didn't really feel like the transmission was slipping. I felt like I was missing one gear. Like I was missing it ends up being first gear, and it was just taking off in second and going into third. So I did debate just leaving it that way, but I like to have my cars working and everything done. So I thought, no problem, I'm gonna take it down to Al's Transmission. Shortly after getting it, he decided it was kind of beyond what he could do. He had never worked on one of these cars before, and to take the transmission out, you gotta take the whole front bonnet, this whole piece has to come off, the engine's gotta come out, the transmission's gotta come out. It's really quite the endeavor. So I had a couple of people recommend a shop by the name of Cruz Lucas in Modesto, California. So I called them and asked them about what it would cost worst case scenario, and I was told to expect about a $10,000 bill. I really didn't want to spend that much money on the car, but I felt like, okay, nice car, I'm gonna go ahead and do it, bite the bullet. So I took it down to them February of 2019, actually February 19th to be exact, and dropped off to them. And I did tell them, hey, take your time, it's not a daily drive or anything like that. I was thinking maybe 2-3 months at the most. Well, it took a little bit longer than that. Obviously now I'm making this video and it is already into the end of September. I just got the car back a few days ago, so it was a total of 7 months. About 3 months into the build, I was told the transmission was rebuilt and it was back, and they asked me if I could come down and pay them $5,000 because they were pretty deep into expenses. So I said yes. So I went on ahead, went down and wrote them a check and waited and waited and waited. And then I was told, I guess, that there was a bug going around the shop, so everybody was sick. That threw them behind. And then one of their technicians ended up having a heart attack, so we were down a technician, so they were working on daily drivers. Then in the midst of all this, the guy that I'd been working with, he ended up leaving, so I started working with another guy. And so, as you can see, it got pushed back quite a way, 7 months in total. So finally, a couple of weeks ago, I get a call, and I'm told, hey, your car's back together, it's running, come on down, check it out. The technician wants to go over a few things with you, and we'll go from there. So I go down there, and of course they started, it's running, sounds good, everything seems to be good. They say, hey, we just need to put a few more things together, a couple things we need to replace, but basically we're done, we're good. Let's go in and talk about the bill. So mind you, I did put $5,000 down, and I was really thinking because I had waited for 7 months that they might give me a little bit of a break on the bill and maybe knock off a little bit. I was wrong. The balance of the bill was going to be another $11,000. Yes, $11,000 on top of the $5,000 I'd already paid. So $16,000, which is significantly over the original $10,000 that I was told. I'm not gonna lie, I blew a gasket. I said that this is just way more than I would have ever spent. If I would have known it was going to be this much, I would never have done the car. I had no idea it was going to this direction. And so Chris, who is their shop manager, very nice guy, they're all very nice people down there. I want to say they are very nice people. He came in, he talked to me, and he ended up knocking off a good chunk of change off the labor and making it a little bit more bearable for me. But I'm still into this car much deeper than I had anticipated. But that being said, I am very happy to have the car back in the shop. Unfortunately, it needs to go back to their shop. There's still a couple of issues. One being that it was running rather warm. It was kind of a warm day when I brought it home, and I noticed it was running towards the top end of the warm spectrum on the gauge. I'm a little concerned about that. I'd like to have them check that out. Also, it is significantly discharging whenever I drive it. The gauge is reading a significant discharge, and after I drive this thing maybe 2 or 3 times, starting it and running it, it's dead. The battery's completely dead, and I had to put a battery tender on it to spruce it back up. So there's that problem. Also, the car still takes off in second gear. I can now get it to take off in first gear if I lock it down into low and step on it. And I do need to drive it a little bit more. I just drove it home, and I've taken it around the block a couple of times, and that's been about it. So I want to get it out, and I want to drive it. I'm going to take you guys for a drive in it today. But yeah, to me it should be taken off in first gear, even in drive, when I take off normal and go through first, second, and third gear. If I'm wrong, I've tried to do some research online. If I'm wrong about that, please tell me. But yeah, I do need to go back down and talk to them about that, and probably get this car back to them, which really don't want to have to do because it's been gone for so long. I enjoy having it back here in the shop, but I want it right. I want it done correctly. So if I have to wait a little bit longer, I have to wait a little bit longer. But I must say I am very happy to have the car back, and well, let's get it out on the road, take it for a little drive, and talk a little bit more about it. Okay, so we're gonna take it out for a little jaunt. I'm noticing right now, because I put a battery tender on it, and I'm noticing right now I'm getting a slight charge on the gauge, which is good. Before it was on the off charge side, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. I want to put a few miles on it. Fuel's good, temperature's looking good right now, but it is a rather cool morning, so I don't expect the temperature to jump up there too badly. Oil pressure's good, everything's feeling good. But I want to play around a little bit more with it, kind of figure out this transmission. Like I said, it's definitely starting in second gear every time. And I'm just not sure if that's a normal thing, but it would seem to me that even if it was, even if that was the way they were built and designed, it would seem to me that once you step on it, it should take off in low gear, and it doesn't even do that. I have to actually lock it into low to do that, and I really haven't even done that enough to really know that's the case every time. So it's important to put some miles on the car, and I do want to do that before I take it back to Cruise Lucas. Another issue I was having that I've forgotten about is when I got it home after driving it down the freeway for 20 minutes, it was idling really high. It was like the throttle was stuck slightly. So kind of played around with that. It seems to be better, but it's still doing it. So I'm not sure about that issue either, but let's just take it out for a little drive and see how it does. So right there, see, there's second gear. And then definitely a good strong shift into third, that's good. But now that's where I'm at. Now the car, as I said before in the video before, I'd kind of forgotten about this car because it's been gone so long, but it's really a nice driving car. It handles very well, holds the road very well. I was cruising down the freeway coming home at 70 miles an hour pretty comfortably, tacking about 3,000 RPM, and it's actually a very nice car to drive. I really think if I get the air conditioning working, I could drive this thing daily if I really wanted to. I don't want to, and I'm not going to, but I could. But yeah, see, there's, even if I drop it down low, and that's all the way on the floor, guys. See, I just shifted manually into second, but that was definitely third gear. And there's third. Yeah. So I'm still just not sure what's going on. Maybe you guys can chime in and tell me. Is the transmission, is it supposed to take off in second gear? But it just doesn't seem right. It just doesn't seem like that's the way it should be. If I step into it, it should just drop into low and go at the very least. What I really like about this car is that it doesn't require a lot of like correction with the steering wheel. I notice I'm going down, you know, it's not a hugely rough road, but it's a rougher road, country road, and it's holding in its lane very, very well. I don't have to make a lot of steering corrections and things like that. It's just I'm humming along right now about 65 miles an hour very comfortably. Okay, I'm gonna lock it down low right now. Okay, that should be second, and then there's third. So see, I've got to step into it and I've got to lock it down, but There it shifted into third without me actually moving the lever into third gear. So I still feel like something isn't right. I don't know. I just feel like something isn't right. But when you get first gear and you step on it, it moves out respectably. I mean, it's not hugely fast. I didn't buy it to be fast. I'm okay with that. But it's respectable. It'll get down the road just fine, and it'll get out into traffic just fine. I just want to make sure it's operating the way it should, especially after spending over $13,000 on the repair. I want this car to be right. You know, this is probably not a forever car. This is probably a car that I will send on to the next owner at some point, and I want everything to work well. I know the lights and signals seem to be working good. The gauges seem to be working. I'm still charging slightly, although it looks like it's come down a little bit. But it's still in the normal range, so I'm good there. So, I want the car to be right. That's important for me. I really want the car to be right. I want to enjoy it the way it's supposed to be, and when I do sell it, I want to make sure that the car is in good shape and ready to go on to the next owner. I will tell you though, if you ever get a chance to drive an E-Type Jag, and I'm sure a manual transmission will be even more fun, but they're really nice driving cars. They're really enjoyable. It's a fun car to drive. You know, initially when I got it back, I was kind of feeling a little frustration towards it, and I was thinking, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna trade it, or I'm gonna just sell it. And the more it's set in the shop, the more I was around it, a few days, driving it a little bit more, I'm really enjoying the car quite a bit. And yeah, I think I'll keep it. I think I'll keep it for a while, especially after spending all that money and putting all that time into it. Now, I did have a lot of people tell me that I should have put a 4-speed in it. And yes, it would have been a lot more fun with a 4-speed. There's definitely no doubt about that. But the car was a numbers matching car. I don't know how much that means in the world of Jaguar, but numbers matching car, and I really just wanted it the way it came. I've got a lot of manual transmission cars that I enjoy, that are a lot of fun. I was fine with this car being an automatic, and I still am. I'm just here to enjoy it, to drive it, and to take it to some car shows. As a matter of fact, I'm planning to take this car to the Winton Ireland Cars and Coffee that I go to every year. I'm really looking forward to doing that, and I really want to have it done and ready to go by then. Hopefully I can get it back in to Cruise Lucas. They can make whatever minor adjustments they need to make to get it all tweaked and right, and I can have it back in time for that show. You guys that follow my channel know me. You know that I'm American muscle. I'm all about American muscle, and that's primarily what I have. But I've been venturing out a little bit, and this car was definitely a step outside of the norm for me. But it's a car that I always admired. I always looked at these E-Types and thought, man, what a beautiful body style. And I thought someday I want to own one. I really do enjoy owning this car. I love the color. The butternut yellow to me is beautiful. The black interior, the interior has been redone. It still smells new when you get inside. I'm really happy to own this car. It's like the NSX I just bought. Definitely a step away from the norm for me, but it's a lot of fun. So I'm gonna pull up here to this stop sign, make sure it's clear. I got, of course, a truck in front of me, so I can't go too far, too fast. But I'm gonna sit here for just a second and let him get some distance. I'm just gonna step on it, but I'm not gonna shift it down into low. I'm gonna step on it and see what it does off the line. Yeah, see, that's second gear right there. It's taking off in second. And then there's third. So the car kind of does what it wants to do. Like I said, the only thing I can do is to lock it into low gear, and even then I don't even have to shift up. It pretty much will shift when it wants to shift, but for some reason me locking it into low gear with the shifter is engaging first gear. We're going to try another experiment up here. I'm going to lock it into low gear, and I'm just going to take off and let it shift normally and see if it will start in first gear or if it's still starting in second. Okay, I'm locked into low gear. Let's take off normal and see what happens. I don't think so. It felt kind of like low gear. Okay, another experiment. Let's see if it'll kick down. No. It's on the floor right there. And that was third gear. It didn't kick down into second. And that was from about 25 miles an hour. So something is still not right. I hope it's not to the point where the transmission has to come back out. I would not be happy about that. I would not be happy about that at all. I want it to work correctly. Just after all this time and all this money spent, I want it to work correctly. So again, I'm going to lock it down to low gear. I'm going to step on it. We're going to see what it does. It feels like that's low gear right there. Okay, get past these bumps. That was definitely low gear. And then there's third gear, but I haven't shifted it manually. When you get in low gear, the car does move out pretty nicely. Let's try again, low gear. Okay, there I got 2 shifts, but I stepped into it a little bit more aggressively. Maybe some Jag experts can chime in and tell me what they think. What do you think needs to be adjusted? What do you think is wrong? The transmission? Is it just the kickdown? The linkage? What could it be? So I'm going to drive this thing a little bit more, put a few more miles on it. So I've only put maybe, I don't know, 40 miles on it since the transmission and everything, and I got it back. So good news is we're still charging. I like that. Temperature is in the normal range, so I like that. So maybe some issues are working themselves out, but I will end the video here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, Venmo, Instagram, and P.O. Box will be in the description below. And thank you guys for watching. God bless. Take care. Have an absolutely amazing day. Quick update. Idle issue is back. It's now sitting here in park idling at about 1,500 RPMs, and there it dropped down to about 1,200 RPMs. So something's still going on there. The battery is starting to head more towards the off charge now after driving a little while, so obviously something's going on there with the electrical system. I tried a few more times with it as far as the manual shifting and everything like that, and I notice it seems like if I lock it into low gear, it will take off in low, then it'll go straight to third gear. So something's still off, something's still not right. Yes, that means a trip back to Cruz Lucas. Bummer.